Hello and welcome to episode 3, Crafting the Toolkit, a threat hunter's year-long journey. So my mission in life over the next year, starting today, September 24th, 2023, is to embark on a year-long journey where I'm driving myself to be a craftsman threat hunter. What does that mean? It's about being proactive and looking ahead, being ahead of the threat, understanding my environment. And really, to do this and do this well, I have to have the right tool set in place. So as I start my with this journey over the next year, I'm going to walk through my current toolkit. At least this is the framework of the toolkit that I'm putting together. I'm going to use this year to make improvements on each of these tools. So let me just walk down these different tools in the toolkit I'm putting together. So I work for my day job. I work for an AWS cloud native organization. So I'm going to be putting in place in a notional environment for your benefit, the best tools in each of these categories. And I'm going to develop my skill, my mastery, put together how to install, how to configure. And that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to study each one of these areas. I'm going to get really good at it. I'm going to share with you guys how I'm doing it, where to get it, how to do it. I work for a startup, so everything has to be, and it's an engineering company, so everything has to be crafted, has to be the best of breed, has to be built by engineers. Unfortunately, we have pretty limited budget on tools, so everything I'm going to be using will be somewhat open source, and it'll have to be tools that I with my skill set can configure, deploy, and they have to be terraformable. So let's just go from the top here. So IDS, I need something on the environment that can be the eyes and ears for our environment. So by default, most people use GuardDuty, and I have my opinions on GuardDuty. I think GuardDuty is great, having used it for quite some time. I think it's great. All right, like out of the box, it does a lot of really good things. But I think it's a great start, but there's some things that it's missing, right? Like I'll get an alert and it'll tell me there's some abnormal activity, right? But it won't tell you why it thinks it's abnormal activity. And that's where I think that the maturity comes into play. If you don't have anything, GuardDuty is a great start. But as you raise your maturity, you really have to know your environment and you have to know what's not normal. And then you put a tool like IDS in place so that you know what's not normal. Because IDS will have its own rules or it'll use machine learning. But in the end, you have to know your environment. You have to know who the players are, who are the actors, what jobs are running. And it only comes with having your asset list together, having the relationships, knowing what's out there, knowing what's not normal. I mean, I've worked in my day job for almost 18 months now, and I feel like I'm getting a handle on things, but I'm still finding things that I didn't know that are happening based on what our IDS detects. Okay, let's go on to the next one, SIEM. So I'll just be upfront. I'm an Elastic person. Before I used Elastic, 2014, I started with Splunk, and I did Splunk work all the way up until I made a career switch last year, and I switched to Elastic. I think Elastic is a great tool. It provides the Elastic as a company provides a great on-ramp for anyone who wants to learn their tool. It isn't that expensive. There are ways that you as a person can learn it. And I'm going to provide a whole lot of videos on how to get started on this. And I'm going to share with you my tips. The other thing that I found with either tool is that there is either Splunk or Elastic or any tool that you pick out there is a ramp up period on just the tool itself. So my goal is, hey, I'm gonna share what I know. I'm gonna put together documents, videos that will help you. And because I find that by documenting and creating these videos, it helps me to share what I know. Okay, next thing, number 3. So my last video, last couple videos, I talked about ADM and ESM. And let's just take it back a step, right? Those are tools that help you to document, frame, communicate the attack map. But who is doing the attacking? If I look at our organization, I'm going to start with, okay, who's trying to attack this? Who are the most likely actors that are going to try to attack this? What are their TTPs? There are platforms out there that are open source today. So the other day I signed up for Alien Vault, threat intelligence, right? It's a free sign up, but I've also got threat intelligence from other sources, but my goal is to kind of make sense of it all. Right now, if I look at my current state, I would say that I myself don't necessarily know kind of and why this person is attacking us. I don't have all of their TTPs built into attack maps. I don't have an attack path database. I don't have that all hooked up, and I don't have a system in place to go from threat actor TTPs, automating, or at least on an ongoing basis, converting them into attack paths. I don't have a searchable attack path database. I'm building that over the year, and I'm going to talk about that and my work with Vinay Venkatesh. Vulnerability scanners. If you're an AWS shop, AWS Inspector is kind of like the go-to place, especially if you use EC2 instances. I would think that is going to be your easiest route to go. Now, the thing that I would like to do over the next year is tie all that stuff together, right? So what are my vulnerable systems? How does that tie into attack path maps? Based on my vulnerable systems, which ones are the most likely to be, if there were a certain type of attack or a certain type of compromise, which ones are the ones that are the most vulnerable, and which would constitute the greatest impact if they're a threat actor were to make into our environment. That's something that I have to, over time, try to piece together. Next is packet capture tools. So, I mean, like I said, GuardDuty is a great place to start. GuardDuty, if you're an AWS shop, will take VPC flows logs. Today, I use VPC flow logs, but I'm looking for other tools, other less expensive tools. Are there things out there that I could use, that I can hook in, that are open source? The other thing is just knowledge of our environment and working with the network guys to understand where I can monitor, where does it make sense. And I would like to try to put together a framework for this, because there are people that challenge me every day about like monitoring the network and understanding traffic. And I think that's, for me, that understanding the network, capturing packets, automating that process, looking at that'll get better at the time. And my goal through this whole exercise is to understand how what tools are out there, in addition to what I'm using today. How can I adopt some new tools? How can I tie that all into the SIM so I can create a bigger picture? The next is EDR tools. So I think that people are the biggest, the weakest link in our chain. I think the technology is phenomenal, especially in AWS. I think it's almost too good. And the thing that I think that I see out there is that people's machines get compromised, people get phished, their credentials get stolen. So I'm going to be working a lot closer with the RIT guys that manage the our EDR solutions. How I'm going to talk about that in the context of this threat hunting guide is I need to be tied into our EDR solution so that I'm getting events, and I'm working with our IT security team to better understand just like I am with the server side and with our cloud workloads. I want to understand where are our blind spots, where are vulnerabilities, how is that going to feed into my attack path map? What are some things that are going to tell me that there is a problem that's originating on the end user space, on the device space, for users involved, which could affect our cloud environment and our cloud workloads. In our cloud environments, what runtime protection is something I kind of view runtime protection on the cloud side as falling in this. Like, what do I have on the cloud side that monitors my cloud workloads to tell me if there's something that is not right, some anomaly that which would tell me that there is a problem. Okay, so let's talk about what's coming up. So I've kind of talked through each of these different 6 buckets. I want to, as I said at the beginning of the call, I just want to be great at each of these areas. I want to either be really good at it or know how to harness somebody that's really good at it. And that's something I'll talk about. I'll document. How am I doing that? How am I going to harness somebody that I can't be the EDR expert as an example? Because that's not an area I'm on. I focus on the cloud side, and I do general incident response. So I'm not the EDR admin. So as a security responder, as a blue team guy, I've got to work with somebody who manages that. And just for the sake of focus, it's really, really difficult to be an expert in all these areas. So I have to kind of pick and choose, which of these 6 am I going to be really good at? And right off the bat, as I start this year-long journey, I don't think I'll be the EDR expert. I think I've got to be an expert at detecting, either at using network intrusion detection, or monitor our workloads, looking for indicators, looking for anomalies early in the attack phase. I've got to be able to understand threats and TTP so I can guide the engineers who are going to be configuring these tools. And I've got to be able to derive signals from these so I can be a more proactive threat hunter. The other thing that I think I know I will be better at over the next year is incident response. I'm responding to probably 3 or 4 different things that don't look right a week that our signals detect. So that's what I do. Every other day, I'm just looking at this. Somebody reports something that doesn't look right, and our organization is hyper vigilant, and we treat incident response as my highest priority. So what I'm going to be doing over the next year is making my playbooks better, pockets of knowledge, pulling things together. Elastic Security has a lot of really awesome features for pulling context together into cases and timelines. So I'm going to become an expert at pulling all the data together and working with the engineers to get the data in, to get the signals in, so that we have visualizations, we have a workflow. And then I'm going to be training another team, the team of analysts that work under me to be able to operate this. So last piece is threat intelligence integration. And not only threat intelligence integration, but I want to be able to have that attack path map laid out in ADM, ADSM. I'm just kind of excited. I'm going to work with Vinay Venkatesh over the next year to see how I can pull this into Elastic. So I want you to save the date, September 2024. I should be a new and better person. Our environment should be better in all these different ways. And if you're watching my channel, you'll see my journey. I'll have the videos. I have blog posts in my GitHub where I'm going to be posting not only there's a lot of this is just process content and overview, but as you go in, you'll see code snippets. I'll be posting Terraform, different things to help you build out your threat hunting capability. Again, I'm very focused. I'm an AWS cloud native guy, and a lot of what I'm going to be focusing is this. So if you're in AWS, you're cloud native, and you want to get the most out of your detection capability, you want to pull all the right tools together, automate this process, then I encourage you to subscribe to this channel, follow me, and look for my latest videos by clicking the button on the left. Thank you.